Montreal in the 1700s was a bustling colonial town on the edge of a vast wilderness, home to roughly 4,000 souls by mid-century merchants, soldiers, nuns, traders, and laborers living behind wooden palisades on an island in the St. Lawrence River. It was New France's fur trading heart, a place where European ambition met indigenous networks, where Catholic bells rang over muddy streets, and where survival depended on the rhythm of the seasons and the flow of the river. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, engravings, and prints to life, allowing us to shift perspective, change camera angles, and move through the same scenes in ways their original artists never could. We'll walk the fortified streets, peer into markets, and witness the tension of a town caught between empires. This view shows the wooden palisade and bastions, 1720s. By the early 1720s, Montreal was encircled by a tall wooden stockade reinforced with earth and stone bastions. This view shows the southern wall stretching along the riverfront, jagged and uneven, with watchtowers at intervals and a single gate swinging open to let carts through. In the foreground, militiamen in tricorn hats and rough wool coats lean on muskets, scanning the tree line. Beyond them, the rooftops of low stone houses cluster inside the walls, smoke rising from a dozen chimneys. The air smells of wood smoke, animal dung, and the river. Dogs bark. A bell tolls from the spire of Notre Dame. Carts loaded with firewood in barrels rumble over frozen mud. This was a town on constant alert. Raids by Iroquois warriors, though less frequent than in previous decades, still haunted collective memory. The walls were not decorative, they were survival. Fire was another enemy. In 1721, a blaze tore through several wooden structures near the eastern gate, consuming homes and a warehouse in minutes. These fortifications mattered because they defined Montreal's identity as a military and trading outpost, not just a settlement. The governor and intendant relied on them to project French power in the interior. But by the 1740s, parts of the wall were rotting, and repairs lagged. When the British laid siege in 1760, the defenses crumbled quickly. Today, nothing of the original wooden palisade remains. But you can trace its outline on a map. Rue de la Commune follows the old riverfront, and modern Place Douville sits where the western gate once stood. This is the Place d'Armes, the town square. This view shows the Place d'Armes in the 1730s, a wide-open square of packed earth surrounded by two-story stone buildings with steep pitched roofs. In the center, a wooden cross rises on a stone pedestal, commemorating the town's founding by Paul de Chaumery de Maisonneuve in 1642. On the left, the facade of Notre Dame church looms, its twin towers not yet built, just a single modest steeple. On the right, the seminary and the residence of the Sulpician priests, who owned the island and much of the land. People cross the square in every direction. A fur trader in buckskin leads a string of pack horses. A woman in a dark cloak and linen cap carries a basket of bread. Soldiers drill in formation near the cross, their muskets gleaming. The square is loud. Shouts in French, the clang of a blacksmith's hammer from a nearby shop, the creak of wagon wheels, the lowing of cattle being driven to slaughter. But there's tension here, too. The Sulpicians controlled land grants and tithes, and disputes over rents simmered constantly. In 1734, a public argument erupted between a merchant and a priest over unpaid dues, drawing a crowd. The square was also the site of public punishments, floggings, stockades, and, occasionally, hangings. This square mattered because it was Montreal's civic and religious heart, the place where authority was displayed and where the community gathered. By the late 1700s, the wooden cross was replaced with stone, and after the British conquest in 1760, the square's character shifted, becoming more commercial. Remarkably, Place d'Armes still exists today, though it's now flanked by skyscrapers and the Grand Basilica of Notre Dame. Stand there now, and you're standing where traders, soldiers, and priests once argued over the future of New France. This view shows the Marché de la Place Royale, the lower market. By the 1740s, the Marché de la Place Royale, down near the riverfront, was the town's busiest trading spot. This view shows a crowded square rimmed with wooden stalls and stone warehouses. In the foreground, indigenous women sit on blankets, selling beadwork and furs. Behind them, French farmers unload vegetables, turnips, cabbages, onions, from carts. A butcher's stall hangs with joints of venison and pork. In the background, the river glints, and canoes are pulled up on the muddy shore. The smell is overwhelming: raw meat, fish, sweat, horse manure, river mud. Voices overlap in French, Mohawk, and Algonquin. Coins clink. A dog snatches a scrap of meat and is chased off by a boy. This was where town met hinterland, where European goods met indigenous trade networks. But the market was also a flashpoint. Prices fluctuated wildly depending on harvests and river traffic. In 1747, a bread riot nearly broke out when grain shortages drove up prices. Soldiers had to intervene. Petty theft was common, pickpockets worked the crowds, and merchants watched their goods closely. Disease, too, lurked in the warm months. Typhus and smallpox spread quickly in the packed, unsanitary conditions. This market mattered because it was Montreal's economic engine. Furs, the colony's lifeblood, passed through here on their way to Quebec and France. After the British conquest, the market continued, but its French character faded. Today, Place Royale is a quiet cobblestone square in Old Montreal, restored and empty of commerce. You can visit it, but you'll find only tourists and plaques, not the roar of trade. It's striking how close the 18th century feels when you walk through Old Montreal today. The stones remember. The streets still curve the same way. The river still flows. And now, with AI, we can step into those engravings and paintings, shift our angle, and see what the artist saw, but from new perspectives. If there's another city, another moment, or another scene you'd like me to reconstruct, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what draws you to the past. Again, thank you so much.